Shalom Israel, Shalom, Shalom. Brother Nakwan, Watchman for Israel, coming back at you with these precepts and another cold cut, giving, of course, all honor and all glory to Yahweh. By Shema Mashiach Malak Yahushai. Double honor to the elect elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting for the second coming of Mashiach Malak Yahushai. A hearty, mighty shalom to all of the mighty men of the Most High God, Salakia, who are out there on the highways and byways, pushing this truth, magnifying the ministry, presenting their body as a living sacrifice, and enduring all things for the elect's sake. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there on the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying, they're fasting, they're studying. They're being diligent and abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom, shalom. And last but not least, shalom to all of the Aquath out there, the sincere sisters out there holding it down in the households, reverent to their husbands, being submissive, being diligent, and moving in the spirit of our righteous foremothers. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to everybody tuning in live. Don Israel, Caleb Wade T, from Egypt to Israel, Quidon Love Pius, Solomon McFadden, Judah 4-0, GDQK, Feed Me Righteously, Ancients New, Why Don't We, T Sellers, and everybody else tuning in and that will tune in, Lord willing. The topic at hand, or the topic of this code, because it's the second Exodus. How will it happen? Right? The second Exodus, how will it happen? The word Exodus literally means to exit, to leave. You understand? To depart. Now, you had a first Exodus during the time of Moses, during the time of Aaron, during the time of Miriam, some 4,000 or so odd years ago, as we departed out of Egypt with the high hand. Right now, it's the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And again, most I will and everybody's having a mighty Feast of Unleavened Bread. But there will also be another Exodus. And that Exodus is a depart from America and to depart from all these other lands where we have been scattered abroad. Right? And this Exodus is somewhat similar, but slightly different based off of certain events that are going to transpire. Right? So let's dive right into it. Let's go first and foremost to Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and 9. Right, let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 9. It reads, the thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. So the course of life, spirits, demeanors, plant life, the world of wild beasts and the animal world, and these things repeat itself, right? They tend to repeat itself every generation. There is no new thing under the sun. Even events that transpire, even people, trees, wind, water, sunlight, moonlight, the rain. These things repeats itself over and over and over again. Now, with that being said, this shows you that the same way we left the first Egypt with a high hand, it's going to be the exact same way we leave this modern day Egypt. Are we going to walk through the Red Sea? No, right? But the similarities are going to be expounded upon as we go through this breakdown and go through the precepts. We're not just going to leave the Atlantic Ocean. There's not going to be another Moses who comes with a staff and parts the Atlantic Ocean. And we walk to the west coast of Africa, and then we walk back into the land of Israel, right? Right? So there are particular events that are going to transpire, right? Let's go to the Apocrypha. And we were going to this at camp yesterday, and we weren't able to, record through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai, but it's meet that we discuss these things, especially in the season that we're in during the Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? 2nd Ezra, chapter 15 and verse 7. Therefore saith the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit. Neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. So this is speaking about life and captivity in today's world. What the Most High is saying is when he says, I will no more hold my, it's like I will hold my tongue no more as touching the wickedness, it means the Most High is going to finally act on behalf of his people. It seems as though there is no intercessor. It seems as though nobody's standing up for the Most High's chosen people. So now the Most High said, hey, look, I'm not playing no more games with you heathen. I'm about to do damage. All of the innocent blood, the decapitations, the lynchings, the murders, the robbery, the extortion, the lies, the pillaging, the plundering, the stabbing, and all of the blood that has been shed, I'm going to finally get up with you so-called white people and you other nations. Now it also says, and the souls of the just complain continually. Now that's a similar spirit that was going on in ancient Egypt. All right, let's go to Exodus, the second chapter. All right, let's go to the book of Exodus, Salakia, the second chapter. All right, bear with me. All right, let's see what was going on in ancient Egypt. Exodus chapter 2 and 23. And it came to pass in process of time that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage, and they cried, and their cry came up unto the Most High by reason of the bondage. And the Most High heard their groaning, and the Most High remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. So this is the exact same thing. Compared to 2nd Ezra 15, it said the souls of the just complain continually. Just like ancient Egypt, we were crying, complaining, and groaning about the murders and the captivity and the hard oppression from Pharaoh. So now you see the similarities, man. And the Lord hears those complaints, man. You know, like we went into another cold cut. It's not a sin to complain about the condition of your people and the oppression and the murder. The Lord is with that, man. Because it shows that you truly don't want to be in this world. You want to be in the world to come. For people that love what you complain about, shows that those people are of the world and love the world, and the world heareth them. We complain about work. Then you got people, I love my job. We complain about the police department, and you got people saying, well, they're just doing their job. We complain about bills and rent and money and never have it enough. And then you got people that love this society. So we're those same spirits, for lack of better terms, or that we're moving in the same spirit, should I say, of our fathers in ancient Egypt. And we know in ancient Egypt, it says what? In the Exodus 2 and 25 or 24, and God heard their groaning. So the Most High hears your groaning. Every groan, and that's deep, man. A groan is just a, damn, I got to get up. I got to go to work tomorrow. Damn, it's always something. The Lord hears that, man. And the Most High remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. That's what it's saying right here. Exodus, 2nd Ezra 15 and 9. And therefore said the Lord, I will surely avenge them and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them. Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. And this isn't talking about the time of Moses. Remember, Ezra is on the scene around 450 BC. All right. Well over 2,000 years. All right. So the Exodus, let me rephrase that, about 1,000 years. Right? About 1,000 years. So when you're reading these accounts, because the Exodus was 1446 BC. Right? Give or take 1446 BC. And then you have Ezra around the time of 450 to 440 BC. So it's roughly around 1,000 years or so. Right? Now, it says, behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. So let's talk about this place, because we dwell in modern day Egypt. All right, this is the exact same situation that we were in during the time of our fathers, man. Right? Let's prove that. Right? Let's get the classic. These are fundamental. So first, before we go to Deuteronomy, let's go to Genesis 46. Right? And we kind of covered these. Here's one account, Genesis chapter 46 and 34. They shall say, this is what Joseph told his brothers to say as they were going into Egypt. Outside of 33. Genesis 46 and 33. And it shall come to pass when Pharaoh shall call you and shall say, what is your occupation? That ye shall say, thy servant's trade hath been about cattle from our youth. Right? Even until now, both we and our fathers. It's like here. Both we and our fathers, that ye may dwell in the land of Goshen. For every shepherd is an abomination to the Egyptians. And just like now in America, who are the modern day shepherds? The Israelites, man. They're saints. Those who guide our people in righteousness, prophets, apostles, the men of the Lord, they're the modern day shepherds. So in ancient Egypt, every shepherd was an abomination to the Egyptians. In modern Egypt, every shepherd is an abomination to the Egyptians. And I'm talking spiritual shepherds. Like the Lord said in Jeremiah. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 3 real quick. Right? Jeremiah chapter 3 and 15. And I will give you pastors. A pastor is a shepherd, according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. So these pastors, these shepherds are an abomination to the Egyptians, because the knowledge and understanding that they give our people is an abomination to this world, man. To hate the laws, the statutes, the commandments, the truth, the love of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, the high holy days, the ceremonial rites, the dietary law. Right? So every shepherd is an abomination to the Egyptians. Let's go to John. Prove again that we are the shepherds. John chapter 21 and verse 16. He said to him again a second time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? He saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, Feed my sheep. So Peter's a shepherd. John is a shepherd. James is a shepherd. The men of the Lord are shepherds. Ancient Egypt hated shepherds. Physically. Modern day Egypt, they hate the modern day shepherds. They make the Southern Poverty Law Center list on hate groups and hate speech and all of this false political rhetoric to try to overthrow the ministry and the work of the Most High. Right? Let's go to Genesis chapter 43. So here's the similarities between ancient Egypt in the Bible and modern day Egypt. Genesis chapter 43 and 32. And they set on by himself, and for them by themselves, and for the Egyptians, which they did eat with. It's like which did eat with him by themselves. So Joseph ate with the Egyptians, and Judah, Simeon, Levi, Reuben, Issachar, Asher, Gad, Naphtali, Dan, etc. Our forefathers, they ate by themselves. So the Hebrews could only eat in one place, and the Egyptians, they could only eat in one place. It's going to tell you. Because the Egyptians might not eat bread with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination unto the Egyptians. Now, that's familiar right there. That's called segregation. Modern day or ancient Jim Crow. Egyptians only. Eating place. Like they had back in the day, right? Or not too long ago. Whites only. And colored only, right? You know? Pull this up. See that? So they did that in ancient Egypt. You couldn't eat bread with the Egyptians, man. You couldn't go into these restaurants or these waiting rooms. It was only for the Edomites. Right? You couldn't drink from the same water fountain. That would be an abomination to a so-called white man, right? For them to drink out of the same water fountain as a negress or a negro, or so they say, a colored folk, you know. So let's go back to this. Right, that's one. Those are two similarities. Let's go to Exodus chapter 1. Right, Exodus chapter 1 and verse 8. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. And it sounds exactly like America. We outnumber the so-called white man, I'm led to believe, 50-1. Right? Now, can I prove that number? No, I can't prove that number. But the point is, who they call the minority is actually the majority. And it's not by a small number. Remember, the so-called white man, he has a negative birth rate. There are more Edomites dying every day than that are actually being born. So we're more and mightier than them. We're smarter, faster, stronger, spiritually mightier, more intelligent, right? And they know that. This is a confession. This is a counsel. The Lord is giving you insight on how these other nations perceive the growth and the status of Israel in captivity, right? Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. So they said, look, we have to deal wisely with them. Let's supplant them, overthrow them. Let's come up with a council to see how can we reduce the population of these Israelites in captivity. We want to deal wisely with them because we don't want them to multiply. And everything that you see from the music that's destructive and demonic, that influence us to kill each other, shoot each other, rob each other, destroy each other, that's part of these modern day Egyptians, which are the so-called white man, dealing wisely on the left-hand side, right? Abortion clinics set up in every community of the children of Israel strategically has been set up to prevent us from multiplying. Sterilizing the women, trying to make the men sodomites, making the so-called black man the new sodomite. It's also Eve, man, putting Eve and teaching her that the so-called black man is no longer her Lord, having her separate. Right now, she dealing with, there's so much going on, man. It's eugenics, social engineering, crafty counsel to prevent us from multiplying. They would castrate us, double castrate you, put all of the men in prison for life so you can't deal with women for years and years and years, so you can't reproduce. Everything is set up to prevent us from multiplying. But guess what, man? You can't stop the Lord's people from multiplying. It's going to happen. And it's happening right now, man. Right? So they say we're going to prevent them from multiplying because if they grow too much, they're going to become a nation and link up with our enemies. Therefore, they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom, and Ramesses. So we were what? In bondage, and we had slave masters. Right? Let's pull this up. Slave. Right? Slave masters plantation. That's what a taskmaster is. Right? That's what a taskmaster is. You working in the field, you got the so-called white man afflicting you with your burdens, whipping you, beating you, robbing you, killing you. Same thing in ancient Egypt. And we built cities, Pithom and Ramesses, like we built Washington, D.C. All right, we built New York City. We built Baltimore, Philadelphia, Annapolis, all of these cities on the East Coast, man, that were capital cities for the so-called white man. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the so-called white man is grieved, man. That's why they hate to see an Israelite father taking care of the Israelite wife and children, man. God damn it. We went through all of this effort to destroy the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American family, and I still see them together. All of these babies are being born. All of these sons are being born. What else can we do? So they get grieved, man. You know? And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor, meaning hardcore bondage. That's the whipping, the beating, the lashes. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field. And who did all work in the field? The Israelites, man. Who was picking cotton in the field? Who was tending the cattle in the field? Who was chopping down trees? Who was drawing in the water? Who was dealing with livestock? Who was digging up ditches and cutting sugarcane and dealing with tobacco and indigo and all types of things, man? Who was dealing with all manner of service in the field in modern day Egypt? The Israelites. All their service, meaning every work that we did wherein they made them serve, was with rigor. So we didn't have it easy. And I don't have to do an in-depth breakdown on the life of slavery in America, right? I'm sure we know, we are well equipped about what happened, man. And what's still happening. Look at this. They made him take a picture. You see that? So let's go back to this. Exodus chapter 1 and 15. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. And he said, when ye do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew woman, and see them upon the stools, meaning when they're having their children, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him, but if it be a daughter, then she shall live. And this is what they do in America, right? Their main target is the Israelite man. Freak them off and turn them to a sodomite, a shapeshifter. I'm using my words wisely, if you can understand. Right? Have him kill his own brother, separate from his own son and family, get rid of him in these abortion clinics. You understand? Anything it takes to kill the Israelite son. They say by the age of, I believe, 25, most Israelites are either dead or in jail, man. Living in a society set up against them. So their main target is the Israelite son. But they wanted the daughters to live so they can impregnate our women and make more of their seed line and demonic nation through our women. So you see the similarities between ancient Egypt and modern Egypt, right? Let's get the ultimate similarity. Deuteronomy 28 and 68. Right? So we're showing you about the second Exodus, right? Because what happened in ancient Egypt is happening in America. That's what second Exodus chapter 15 is talking about. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. So we would go into America. That's what this Egypt is. Because we didn't go into ancient Egypt on ships. Again, there was no second coming into physical Egypt again with ships. This is speaking of none other than your transatlantic slave trade. Like your transatlantic slave trade, aka the Middle Passage, right? Where the Lord said you will go into slavery again on ships. See that? Sent to captivity again on ships. Here's a map right here. Right, here's a map coming from the west coast of the land of Ham, sent all the way to the islands, to America, Brazil, and other parts of South America. See that? We would go into captivity on ships, just like ancient Egypt. We were in slavery. See that? He would be. This would be modern day slavery, and that's the devil right there. Let's get another map. See that? The transatlantic slave trade, captives taken from Africa to the Americas and Europe, 16th to the 19th century. And they give you this. You had Israelites sent all throughout South America, man. Brazil, Colombia, right? The Caribbean, Southern United States, Carolinas, the Chesapeake, right? That's the Maryland area. Northern U.S. like New York. Stop thinking slaves were just sent to Alabama, man. Oh boy, all of the slaves went to Alabama and Mississippi. No, they went all over. Right? Even got Europe right there. All right. So you had Israelites sent all over, man. From South Africa, West Africa, West Central Africa, 5.7 million. West Africa, 389,000, 756,000, 2 million from Benin, 1.6 million. Right? So this is a big deal going on, man. 1.2 million from the Gold Coast and sent to these different lands. So this is Deuteronomy 28 and 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. So you'll go into America again and these different places with ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for a bondman and bondwoman, and no man shall buy you. So we were sold unto our enemies, and no man will free us. Right? No so-called black leader, rather you were Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or Nat Turner, Medgar Evers, the Black Panthers Party, they couldn't deliver you. Harriet Tubman, right? So 2nd Ezra chapter 15 is saying, behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. Let's talk about this place, man. Same segregation, same murder, same killing of the sons of Israel, same building up cities. But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm and smite Egypt with plagues as before and would destroy all the land thereof. So the Lord is smiting Egypt now with plagues, man. Right? You have the economy collapsing. You have economic plagues. People ditching the dollar. The debt rate is damn near 32, 31 trillion. You have natural disasters every other week, tornadoes and wildfires. You have seditions. You have a rebellion in America. America's divided against itself. These are the plagues on Egypt. And destroy all the land thereof. Then the Most High give mighty plagues in ancient Egypt. All right, let's pull this up. 10 plagues. Right, for brothers that may not know. Right? What? Slakia. And we should know the 10 plagues by heart, man. Right? If you've been in this thing for quite some time, you know, it shouldn't be too hard to know the 12 plagues. I mean, the 10 plagues. Right? Okay, they have this in order. All right, this is good. This is actually in order, right? And they actually give you the precept. Right? The water turned into blood. Into more amphibians. Just say frogs, man. Right? Anyways, water turned to blood, frogs, lice, flies, livestock, death, the boils, hail mingled with fire, locusts, darkness, and death to the firstborn. These were the 10 plagues of Egypt. And these plagues were against the so-called gods of Egypt. All right? Because they had gods. Let's actually get that in Exodus, the 1st chapter. They had gods that were that resembled beasts, that resembled animals, that were over the Nile River, and that were over different parts of nature, right? So now the Lord said in 2nd Ezra, he's going to do what? But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm and smite Egypt. with plagues as before, and would destroy all the land thereof. Now, are the plagues coming to America? Is it going to be water turned to blood? Literally, no. What about frogs? No. Lice? No. These people get lice every day, man. Flies, disease on livestock, boils, helmet with fire. No, these plagues aren't literally coming back. There are different plagues coming to Egypt, right? Let's go to see where I'm at with time. Okay, let's go to the book of Revelation, right? Chapter 15 and verse 1. Right, we're going to touch on some of the plagues coming to the earth. Right, we're going to touch on some of the plagues that Yahweh Basham Yahushai is going to send on the earth. Revelation chapter 15 and 1. And I saw another sign from heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels, having the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of the Most High. So you had 10 plagues in ancient Egypt. Now you have 7 last plagues in modern Egypt, right? And there's a lot of similarities between, let me actually kind of slide this over, between what happened in Egypt and what's going to happen to these nations. Now, the first plague was water turned to blood, right? Let's see water turned into blood on another level. All right, let's go to Revelation chapter 16 and verse 1. And I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the 7 angels, go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of God upon the earth. So there are vials. A vial is like a bowl, and they will pour it on the earth. And as the angel, each angel poured out his vial upon the earth, it represented one of the plagues coming on the earth. So when the Lord said he would smite Egypt with plagues, you have minor plagues like economic collapses and, seditions in the government and, it's like in natural disasters, tornadoes and wildfires, debt financially, Edomites rising up against nations and race wars. Then you have these actual plagues coming from these angels, right, that the Most High is going to do. Salakia. Right, so let's see one of the plagues. And the first went out and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there felt a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image. Now, this is a comparison to what plague? The boils, right? Because there was a noisome and grievous sore felt upon the Egyptians that had the boils. So let's get that real quick. Let's go to Exodus. Actually, let's pull this up right here, right? The 9th chapter, right? Just to prove that. So there's similarities between the plagues in ancient Egypt and the plagues in modern day Egypt. Exodus chapter 9 and verse 9. And this shall become small dust in all the land of Egypt, and shall be a boil breaking forth with blains upon man and upon beast throughout all the land of Egypt. So that was the grievous sore back then. Those were literal boils. Now, is this talking about literal boils? What is the grievous sore upon the men that have the mark of the beast and upon them that have his image? Well, let's go to it. Let's go to Revelation 14 and 9. Right? What is the grievous sore? It's a poetic way of saying the I gotta go to the General Hospital. Everybody put your mask on. There's a new plague. Okay, we just got over this in 2019 and 2022. Now there's a new plague, and everybody has boils and they need Neosport. No, right? This is it's all a hit talk. It's a poetic. Revelation 14 and 9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man shall worship, it's like if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand. The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone. That's that grievous sore, your flesh opening up, being consumed by fire and brimstone, and the presence of the holy angels, and in the presence of the Lamb, right? The fire and brimstone. Let's go to Zechariah chapter 14. About your flesh. And this shall be the Zechariah 14 and 12. And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite, like the Lord smitten everybody with boils, all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet. That's that noisome, grievous sore. Your flesh ripping open, right? And burning and melting. And their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. So that's that plague that's coming. Just like you had the boils in ancient Egypt, you're going to have the modern day sores, the modern day grievous sore on these men, which is what their flesh being consumed due to them worshiping the beast and his image. This is what Yahweh Shem Yahushua said when he would smite Egypt with plagues as before, right? And will destroy all the land thereof. Here are the plagues. Let's see another plague that we dealt with, that we're going to deal with. Revelation chapter 16. Right, first, another plague we want to touch on, the water turned into blood. You had the literal water turn into blood in ancient Egypt. You can read about that in Exodus, the 7th chapter. Literal water turned into blood, and all of the vessels and the Egyptians had to dig around to try to get water. Is the Lord going to turn the Mississippi River into blood? Right, these rivers in Ohio, right, the Chesapeake Bay, right? Is he going to turn the rivers in the Colorado River into blood? No, right? But he is going to turn water to blood, but it's not literal water, right? Let's go to the book of Revelation again, chapter 16 and verse 3. And the second angel poured out his vial upon the sea, and it became as blood of a dead man, and every living soul died in the sea. And the third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and fountains of waters, and they became blood. So these rivers, the sea and the fountains of waters represent large nations and small nations. The rivers are the smaller nations and the fountains of waters, and the sea are larger nations. Just like you have mountains are large nations and the hills are smaller nations. All right. And this is going to let you know that because you may say, no, that's talking about literal water. Stop getting the breakdown from Esau. See, your pastors and the Edomites, they don't have the understanding, man. So they would think that this is literal. I'm not going to say I guarantee, but I'm led to believe if I typed in Revelation 16 and 3 and went to images, they might show literal water turn to blood. Look at this. Because they don't know what's going on. Somebody spent time to actually put this together, man. See, they don't have too much. All right, but they had one image right there, man. Look at this. They think that, look, that's not literally going down, man. What does it mean the waters and the rivers and the fountains are going to be turned into blood? Because that's your second and third plague. It's going to tell you at Revelation 16 and 5. Right, let me read 4 again. And the third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and fountains of waters, and they became blood. And I heard the angel of the waters say, so there's an angel that controls the waters, right? Thou art righteous, O Lord, which art and was and shall be, because thou hast judged thus. For they have shed the blood of saints and prophets, and thou hast given them blood to drink, for they are worthy. Who's the they? The they are the waters. If this is talking about literal water, why is God judging literal water for shedding the blood of the saints? The Atlantic River, it's like the Atlantic Ocean, didn't shed the blood of the saints. The Pacific River or ocean, the Indian Ocean, the Mississippi River, the Black Sea. Give me the account of them having a sword in their hand and shape-shift into flesh and blood with a gun and killing the prophets and the saints. Give me the account of actual water murdering the Israelites. Well, now you know it can't be talking about actual water. The sea and the rivers and fountains are speaking about man. Throughout the Bible, when you see the word sea and rivers and fountains, sometimes it's literal, and sometimes it's spiritual. So who really shed the blood of the saints and the prophets? All these other nations. And their judgment is for them to be destroyed. That's what this means. The Lord has given them blood to drink. Right? Because they have destroyed us. So the Most High is going to give them blood to drink, which is just a poetic way of saying he's going to return that vengeance upon their own head. For they are worthy. For all of the murder, all of the lies, the robbery, the killing, the rape, the Lord's going to destroy you, man. Now let's prove that the waters are talking about the rivers. It's like the rivers and the sea is talking about the nations, right? Go to Psalm chapter 144. Psalms chapter 144 and verse 6. Cast forth lightnings and scatter them. Shoot out thine arrows and destroy them. Send thine hand from above and deliver me out of great waters. The Lord said, deliver me out of great waters. Does that mean David was drowning, right? He didn't have his flaps, right? Then the Lord said, okay, I'm going to give you a life ring. And he's kind of paddling in the water and he's kind of going under. Then the angel lifeguard is on the beach and he gets up and he blows his whistle and he gets up and he runs in the ocean. And then he gets David out. Okay, then David, he's coughing up water. So then he goes back and he gives him the CPR and he saves David. Then David gets out and David says, I don't know if I should go back to that beach. But then the lifeguard, no, man. Right? It's not literal. What does it mean, deliver me out of great waters? Meaning deliver me from America. Deliver me from Brazil. Deliver me from Haiti. Deliver me from Peru, Puerto Rico, England, France, Germany, wherever I'm scattered at. Deliver me out of great waters from the hand of strange children. So now the waters have been explained. They're the hand of strange children, meaning the other nations. All right. The waters are likened unto the other nations. Let's go to Isaiah 17th chapter. It is Isaiah chapter Slakia. Isaiah chapter 17 and verse 12. Right? Isaiah chapter 17 and 12. Woe to the multitude of many people, which make a noise like the noise of the seas. So that's another reason why they're likened unto the sea. Because the sea never rests. Right? The sea makes a noise. The nations, they make a noise. Their noise are the councils, the tumults they have. Psalms 83, the seditions, and the secret councils that they do in the dark. They're likened unto the sea. And to the rushing of nations that make a rushing like the rushing of mighty waters. The nations shall rush like the rushing of many waters, but the Most High shall rebuke them, and they shall flee far off, and shall be chased as the chaff of the mountains before the wind, and like a rolling thing before the whirlwind. So again, that's another precept to let you know that the nations are likened unto the waters. And remember, they even have, when we brought it up before, what is it called when you have a group of people together, man? It's called a sea of people. That's actual terminology, right? This is madness, right? Slocky, let me go back. Let's see if I can type that in again. There's actually something called a sea of people. All right, a sea of people. What is a sea of people? A sea of people is a common metaphor in English, right? Sea and mountain. It's not used in English. It means a mass of people, a throng of people. See that? They got people, mountains, and a sea of people. All right. So that's, and what do you have when you have a sea of people? What do they do when they all do this? Right? It's called a wave, because you make waves in the sea. Only a sea of people can make a wave. And when you see it, it actually looks like a wave. I'm not going to put up a video. I'm sure you've seen it. All right, let's see. I may pull up a video. All right. Okay, I may not do it. Right? But nevertheless, you get the point. You've seen what a wave is. If you haven't seen a wave, you don't know exactly what I'm talking about, look it up, man. Right? And watch the people in the sea of people do the wave. And then you got people that jump into a sea of people, and it's like they're floating in the crowd, man. You got these guys that they call it crowd surfing. See that? Why is it called surfing? Because the people are the waters. So they keep making me do all this madness, Salaki. See that? See if I can pull this up. Crowd surfing is the process in which a person is passed overhead from person to person. The crowd surfer is passed above everyone's heads with everyone's hand supporting the person's weight. So that's crowd surfing. These guys that jump into, see that right there? I don't know, Wikipedia did videos like that. See, he's surfing amongst the waters. They might even do a wave. He might get bounced up in the damn wave, man. Right? So Revelation 16 about the sea, it's not talking about the actual ocean, right? Even the so-called white man's metaphors explain that and speak about that, man. So let's read this one more time. For they have shed the blood of saints and prophets, and thou hast given them blood to drink, for they are worthy. Let's get one more precept showing that the nations are the sea. Go to Isaiah chapter 11. Isaiah chapter 11 and verse 15. And the Lord shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea. This is a prophecy speaking about the Lord destroying the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of America. And with a mighty wind shall he shake his hand over the river. And what? And shall smite it in the seven streams and make men go over dry shod. So the Lord is going to destroy America in 7 ways. 7 streams. What does that mean? Complete destruction. Right? This sea, meaning America, is going to be smitten in 7 streams. Complete destruction coming to America. Right? And the Lord is actually using, he's alluding, this is called an illusion, not illusion, an illusion. He's alluding back to the fact of the Exodus and the first Egypt, when he says, and make men go over dry shod. Right? Because in the first Egypt, we went through the Red Sea on dry land. So now the Lord is saying, once he destroys America, he's going to make men go over dry shod. Right? So let's pull up the sea being split. I'm going to keep those plagues open. Now we're pulling up a lot of images, right? We got to paint the picture. Right? We got to paint the picture. Some of our people are visual learners. Some are not. So again, this is what happened in the first Egypt. The Red Sea was split, and we literally walked through on dry shod. Now, you may say, well, hold on. I thought you said that we're not going to walk through the sea again. Right? Well, this is poetic. It's a dark saying. A lot of these prophecies are dark, right? What does it mean when he shall smite it in the seven streams? It means complete destruction and make men go over dry shod, meaning we're going to exit out of the sea, right? We're going to go through the nations. Spiritually, we're going to get beamed up and taken out of these nations. That's what it's saying. And there shall be an highway for the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, like it was to Israel in the day that he came up out of the land of Egypt. So there's going to be a highway, like we went through the Red Sea. There's going to be another way for us to leave America. Now, what is a highway? A highway, and we went over this in camp yesterday, right? But we have to go back over it again. So a highway is a road, an avenue, a pathway. And it's really the quickest way possible, because you can take if I want to go to I don't know, to Philadelphia or something, or wherever, you can take the streets, right? If I want to go down the city, I can take the street, but I got to deal with the stoplights. I got to deal with pedestrian traffic. I got to deal with whatever, or I can get on a highway. The highway is the quickest way possible to get you from A to B. All right. It's an avenue or a road to get you from A to B, to allow you to transport or translate from one location to another location. So you get in your car, you get on I-95, I-70, 695, whatever, and that highway allows you to get to your destination. So what's the modern day highway for us leaving America? Right? Well, your modern day highway is that chariot, or really that tractor beam, because that tractor beam is the highway to get you from the earth all the way up into the chariot. All right. So when you look up, let's see, UFO tractor beam. See that? This is your modern day highway, because that's what's going to get you from Babylon the Great into the chariot. Right? It's not a literal highway walking through the Red Sea. Once the Lord destroys Egypt and splits it into 7 ways, the way that you're going to leave and the road is this tractor beam, right? Or so they call it, tractor beam, the light. You see that? And that serves the same purpose as a highway, to take you from one place to another. So when we leave here, we're leaving out via the chariots, man. The chariots of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. Now, even Esau, he said that there's a mothership out there in the atmosphere watching us. He's saying that now, man. He said, I don't know, how long we could last. There's an actual mothership out there. No, that first of all, it's a fathership. Second of all, they're not here to stalk you, man. The chariots are here to destroy you and deliver you. So this is what Isaiah chapter 11 is talking about. All right. That's exactly what it's talking about. Let's go back to this. And there shall be a highway for the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, like it was to Israel in the day that he came up out of the land of Egypt. All right. So the waters in Revelation 16 are the nations. They're going to be smitten in 7 streams. That's equivalent to your plague of water being turned to blood. Now, let's see another plague. Revelation chapter 16 and 7. And I heard another out of the altar say, even thus, Lord God Almighty, true and righteous are thy judgments. And the 4th angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch men with fire. Now, you don't see that plague in ancient Egypt, but you do see fire, right? But it's not coming from the sun. Let's go to these plagues. Yeah, there's no plague from the sun that scorched men with fire. You did have fire that served the purpose. Now, that was a literal fire, right? And guess what? This sun scorching men with fire is not talking about global warming. I've heard brothers say this talking about the greenhouse effect, because now the sun is getting hotter. It was 80 degrees last December. No, that's not what it's talking about. It's not talking about a shift in weather patterns and climate change, man. Oh boy, man, Mother Nature's crazy, man. It was 90 degrees last February. We in the end of the world. Yeah, I mean, that's a minor sign, the weather being changed and things of that nature. We get it, right? But what this is really going into is not talking about the sun actually scorching men with fire. Remember, all this is parabolic, right? All this is parabolic. The sun scorching men with fire is speaking about the destruction of noonday. The destruction of noonday. Noonday, or noon, is a parabolic way of speaking about fire and destruction. Because at noon, the sun is at its peak and it emits the most heat at noon. And it scorches men with physical heat. But poetically, at noon, at the peak of judgment, it's going to be actual fire coming from the missiles and from the intercontinental ballistic missiles. So, you leave it up to the so-called white man, see what we can get from him. Sun scorching. We're going to prove it all through the precepts. Sun scorching men with fire. See what they got going on. Look at this. So they don't know. This is what the people think literally. See, they got the literal source. Then it's real hot. Right? It's so hot outside. It's not talking about it being so hot outside, man. This is speaking about the fire that comes at noonday. All right, because that's what the sun brings, man. Let's first and foremost, let's go to, and we did a Revelation 16 breakdown in-depthly on the older Cold Cuts channel. But we have to kind of go back over these precepts as we talk about the second Exodus. We talked about the condition of our people in Egypt. Now we're talking about the plagues and the deliverance. Well, let's see where I'm at with time. Okay, we're good. We're good with time. All right. We're good with time. Ecclesiasticus chapter 34 and verse 16. Here's a precept, right? For the eyes of the Lord are, okay, let me get this one. For the eyes of the Lord are upon them that love him. He is their mighty protection and strong stay, a defense from heat. A defense from heat, and a cover from the sun at noon, a preservation from stumbling, and an help from falling. Now, does this mean the Lord is literally going to protect you when it's 85 degrees outside? Okay, it's 90 degrees. I forgot my suntan lotion. Oh boy. Okay, but the Lord is my protection. All right. And the Lord comes down with a big umbrella and blocks the sun from you at 12 p.m. as you go on your lunch break and you walk to your car. No, man, that's not what it's talking about. The Bible, again, is full of poetry, metaphors, dark sayings, riddles, allegories, right? Dark sentences. And everything's not going to be literal. A defense from the heat is the defense from affliction, persecution, coming from the missiles and these other nations. That's why Revelation 16 says power was given unto the sun to scorch men with fire, because the sun brings out its heat at noon. All right. And it's really just going into the destruction. Because at noonday, at 12 p.m., the sun, it's at its peak. It's the hottest. So the hottest time of fire and judgment is likened to the sun being at noon. All right. Let's get another precept on that. All right. I hope brothers understand. Let's get another precept about destruction coming at noon. Just show you, I'll show you the literal deal of it. Right. and show you why the Lord likens it unto that. Ecclesiasticus chapter 43 and verse 2. The sun, when it appeareth, declaring at his rising, a marvelous instrument, the work of the Most High. At noon, it parcheth the country, and who can abide the burning heat thereof? So that's what the Lord is using on a spiritual level. At the spiritual noon, the heat from the sun parcheth and burneth the country. So it's going to burn up these other nations. Burn them up with fire and brimstone. Burn them up with intercontinental ballistic missiles. Burn them up with nuclear heat. Who can abide the burning heat thereof in the sun? A man blowing a furnace is in the works of heat, but the sun burneth the mountains, and the modern day mountains are the nations. And the modern day sun is the noonday, the missiles. 3 times more, breathing out fiery vapors and sending forth bright beams, it dimmeth the eyes. That's what the literal sun does. But again, open up your spiritual mind and understand that on a spiritual level. Okay? Now, let's get one more dealing with the sun at noon. Let's go to Song of Solomon. We'll get one more. Right? Song of Solomon, chapter 1. Actually, let's go to Mark. Okay, let's go to Mark. Fourth chapter. Mark chapter 4. I want to get straight to the point. And verse 16. And these are they likewise, which are sown on stony ground, who, when they have heard the word, immediately receive it with gladness. So this is a type of Israelite, right? A brother might hear the word, he might immediately receive it with gladness, but he might be sown in stony ground. Doesn't have a sure foundation, right? So the Lord likens a man into a plant, all right, that's not really rooted, and have no root in themselves, and so endure but for a time. Afterward, when affliction or persecution ariseth for the word's sake, immediately they are offended. So the Lord says certain people come into the truth, but then once affliction or persecution comes, they are offended and they fall out. We're going to show you what affliction and persecution is also likened unto in this parable. So let's jump up and see what this is going into. Mark chapter 4 and verse 5. And some fell on stony ground, right? We just read that, which had not much earth. And immediately it sprang up because it had no depth of earth, because men aren't rooted. But when the sun was up, it was scorched. And because it had no root, it withered away. Now, what is this sun scorching men talking about? We read that in Revelation chapter 16, right? The vow was poured upon the sun, and it scorched men with fire. The same thing Yahushua said. The sun was up, and it scorched men with fire. What is that scorching men with fire? Right? He explains the parable down here in verse 17. And have no root of themselves, and so endure before a time. But what's like it when affliction or persecution ariseth? That's that sun scorching men with fire. Affliction, pain, persecution, damage. He's explaining in the parable right here. Because if you didn't know, you would say, well, the sun has actually scorched this guy with fire. Wow, that's harsh. No, it's really talking about affliction and persecution. And that's really going to come from the missiles. It's going to scorch men with fire. That's the noonday. That's the plague that it's speaking about in Revelation, the 16th chapter. That's why you have to go precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little. Because if you just took this off of face value, you wouldn't understand what the Bible is letting you know, man. You know? Now, let's get another one. Right? We're dealing with the sun and the moon. I mean, the sun. All right, let's go to, and the brother put, I saw a good comment on there. from Brother Azariah, Shalom King. He said, Khan, the heat of the day, we're in the cool of the day now. That's right. That's right. It's a good point. I'm actually going to use that. Right? This is Genesis chapter 3 and verse 8. And they, meaning Adam and his wife, heard the voice of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God amongst the trees of the garden. So you got the heat of the day or noonday, you have the cool of the day. If the heat of the day is the time of judgment, what is the cool of the day? Well, the cool of the day is the time that we're living in right now, before the heat comes, for the missiles, for the ICBM missiles and the destruction comes to this world. The cool of the day is a time of repentance. The cool of the day is a time of grace. The cool of the day is a time of mercy. Just like if you get up at think about it in real time, man. If you get up around 7 in the morning, ain't nothing really happening, man. 5, 6 in the morning, that's the cool of the day. There's not too much people out, not too much traffic going on, not too much loudness and madness amongst flesh and blood. It's the cool of the day. Ain't nothing really happening, man. You might hear the birds chirping. Plans ain't really put into effect yet. You might be meditating on things. And then around noon, that's when people are out with traffic. You might have accidents, people yelling and neighbors out and, people on lunch break, traffic is there. And the heat of the day is when things speak up or speed up and things really start moving. The cool of the day is kind of the slower time of the day. Right now, we're in the cool of the day. The heat of the day is when the missiles come. All right? Let's get one more, and we'll move on. Dealing with the cool of the day. Song of Solomon, chapter 1 and 5. I am black, but comely. O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. Look not upon me, because I am black. Why? Because the sun hath looked upon me. So we're black because the sun is scorching us. The amount of affliction and persecution. Right? That's why we're black. It's not literal. Yeah, you can use on a literal way on a surface level to expound the color in the Bible. But when you really dive deep into what this is talking about, it's speaking about the condition of us as a nation. Us being black. Right? We want to be white. And this is not for people that, when I say we want to be white, I'm not talking about we want to look like Clark Kent and Brad Pitt. White is a color of righteousness. Black is a color of judgment and affliction and sin. White is a color of purity, piousness, or piety, right? Holiness. Black is the opposite. This is why the so-called white man plays on words and calls us black, but he calls himself white because he knows what these words mean. But Jake, you don't, right? You don't know what these words mean, right? You get kind of all caught up. Right, where's the etymology site? Let's pull this up. We're going to go to the word black and get the origin of the word black. Now, I want to get straight to the point. Now, look at this. The same produce black or pale, bright, shining, the connections, perhaps fire, and burned. Right? Black, dark. Where's the point I want? Let's jump down. They might have taken it off, but they said black originally. Okay, here it is right here. Okay, black, the meaning fierce, terrible, wicked, without light, moral or spiritual, gloomy, unlucky, bad, wicked, malicious. Right? Darkness, overcast. In English, it has been the color of sin and sorrow, at least since around the 1300s. Black is the color of sin. White is the color of righteousness, the color of holiness, the color of purity, the color of piety. So in Song of Solomon, when it says we are black, we're only black because the affliction from the sun, the judgment from the sun, the persecution from the sun. We have become darkened because we have been afflicted and being scorched by the sun. My mother's children were angry with me. Those are the other nations. They made me the keeper of the vineyards. Then they put us in captivity, right? They put us in bondage. They put us in slavery. And we're out in these nations being scorched by the sun due to our lack of keeping the commandments, right? But my own vineyard have I not kept. So we have to build up these other nations, and we can't build up ourselves. Us being in these other nations is us being scorched by the sun. We're out in the vineyards being scorched right now, right? Tell me, O thou, whom my soul loveth, where thou feedest, where thou makest thy flock to do what? To rest at noon. So now we're sick of being scorched by the sun. So now we want to rest at noon. Huh? We're sick of being persecuted. We're sick of the judgment from the sun. We're sick of being scorched. We want shade. Where is the shadow of the Lord? Since the Lord is our shade, the Lord is our keeper. The Lord said, abide under my shadow. If you're under the shadow of the Lord, you don't get afflicted by the sun. It's as simple as that. So now we're asking, okay, well, Lord, how do I serve you? How do I repent? How can I rest at noon? I don't want to be destroyed. I don't want to be scorched by the sun. I don't want to be keeping these vineyards of the other nations. I want to be under your shadow. Right? It tells you in Psalms, the Lord is thy shade. Slack you. Right? Moving too fast. Let's get that real quick. Right? Psalms chapter 121 and verse 5. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun, meaning affliction, shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon, same thing, by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. So you don't want to be afflicted by the scorching sun. You want to be under the shade, meaning under the protection of the Most High God. All right. And that's what Revelation 16 is talking about. What it says, power in that fourth plague was given unto men to scorch them with fire. It's speaking about the affliction and the destruction primarily coming from the missiles. All right. Let's read this again. Revelation chapter 16 and 8, because again, the Most High said he would smite Egypt with plagues as before. One of the plagues is the scorching of men with fire, which is massive persecution and affliction via the missiles, right? And a fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch men with fire. And men were scorched with great heat and blasphemed the name of the Most High, which had power over these plagues, and they repented not to give him glory. So if you're banking on these people to repent, the Lord told you what they're going to do. Well, maybe we got to teach the Moabite man. Give them a chance. Why don't you teach all nations? Everybody has a chance to hear the word. Well, hey, guess what, man? The Most High, he already told you what they're going to do. Same thing with the Canaanites, man. He said he gave them a place of repentance, not being ignorant that they were a naughty generation and their malice was bred in them, and that their cogitations would never be changed. Right? So the nations, they're not going to repent. Stop thinking that they have some type of zeal for the Most High. They're just cleaving. And the God that these nations serve, and it's not the God of Israel, it's Caesar Borgias, man. You got people saying, well, you got Chinese people that serve God. No, they don't know about the Most High. They're serving the image of the beast, right? They're serving the so-called white man and his system. If they truly had to serve the Most High, they couldn't serve the Lord like that, man. They'll replace the lamb of the Passover with rat. The Hamite man will replace the wine with blood. So they can't really serve the Most High, especially the way of Israel. All right, so these are the plagues. Again, going back to Second Esdras. Right, let's go to Second Esdras chapter 15. Right, we're showing you the similarities between ancient Egypt and modern Egypt. We showed you how we lived in ancient Egypt. We showed you the slavery. We showed you the captivity, the eugenics aspect of things, the segregation, and the ancient Jim Crow of the time of old. Now we're showing you the comparisons of how the Lord had 10 plagues in ancient Egypt, and now he has the plagues for modern day Egypt and in America. And these plagues are also going to affect these other nations. All right, so I'm going to read that one more time, or I'll read it again rather, in 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 11. It reads, but I will bring them with the mighty hand and the stretched out arm and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. So we covered some of the plagues, right? We covered the noisome and grievous sword, right? If you just tune it in, of course, you're going to have to watch it from the beginning or rewind it, man, right? We covered the water being turned into blood, and that means the judgment on the other nations, which are the sea and the rivers, right? The fountain, same thing. And we covered the people being scorched by the sun. We covered what that's really talking about. These are the plagues. All right. Revelation chapter 16 and 9, or 16 and 10. And the fifth angel, here's the fifth plague. So the fifth plague in ancient Egypt, right, was the disease on the livestock. But let's see the fifth plague coming to modern day Egypt. Revelation 16 and 10. And the fifth angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast, and his kingdom was full of darkness, and they gnawed their tongues for pain. Now, the fifth plague is the plague of darkness. Now, in ancient Egypt, what plague was the darkness? Well, that was the ninth plague. See that? That was the ninth plague in ancient Egypt. And that darkness lasted for days. It was so, the darkness, when you read it, it was so much that you can actually feel the darkness. Imagine that. You can actually, it was tangible. Darkness that could be felt. Right? This Exodus chapter 10 and 21. To show you that that darkness in ancient Egypt. Right? And the Lord said unto Moses, stretch out thine hand toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt. And it's like in Moses, stretched forth his hand toward heaven, and there was thick darkness in all the land of Egypt 3 days. Right? So that, and then you can read more about this in the Apocrypha, right? It's lucky. When you read Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 17, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18, you read about the plagues of darkness and the effect that it had on the Egyptians. And you see what the Most High has set up on ancient Egypt. Right, Salaki, bear with me. Right, you see the effect and the plagues it had on ancient Egypt. Now, when you jump up back in the book of Revelation, let's read this again. Revelation 16 and 10. And the fifth angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast. What is the seat of the beast? The seat of the beast is America. Right? That's the throne of the beast. Now, who's the beast? The beast, let's go into this, is NATO and the EU in this context. Right? Revelation chapter 17 and verse 3. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit, right, upon a scarlet colored beast full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. So that's your modern day NATO and the EU, right? Ancient time, it was Rome, right? You had Greece, the 7 heads, Greece, Rome, Spain, France, Germany, Russia, Great Britain. The 10 horns was your other provinces like Dalmatia, Lugdunensis, Belgica, that was in that Roman Empire. All right. But now your modern day Roman Empire is NATO and the EU. And America, they're an extension of that. Now, this is that beast. But the seat of the beast is not talking about an actual chair. In Revelation 16, when it says the seat of the beast, I believe that, and we're going to go to it, that word is thronos in the Greek, right? Pour his vial upon the seat of the beast, thronos, which means throne. Thronos, right? And it says a throne seat, a chair of state having a footstool, assigned in the New Testament to kings, hence kingly power or royalty, right? Metaphor of God, Hamashiach Yahushua, divine power. So that's the point you want, right? It's a throne. Now, who's the throne of the beast? What people amongst all of the 7 heads and 10 horns call the shots, right? Where's the woman who sits upon the beast? She has the throne over them. She's sitting on the throne. You call shots from the throne. You execute judgment from the throne. You destroy with the throne. You save with the throne. So the throne of the beast is really America. Now, when you go back to Revelation, the 2nd chapter, we're going to show you something. This is Revelation chapter 2 and verse 12. All right, let's show you ancient Rome. And to the angel of the church in Pergamos, right? These things saith he, which hath the sword. It's like you. These things saith he, which hath this sharp sword with 2 edges. I know thy works, and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is. And thou holdest fast my name, and hast not denied my faith, even in those days wherein Antipas was my faithful martyr, who was slain among you, where Satan dwelleth. So the seat of the beast is where Satan dwells. That's Satan's seat. Now, in the ancient world, it was Pergamos, because Pergamos was the most wicked spot of the Roman Empire. They had temples for every god, Asclepius, sodomy, gods dedicated to freakism and madness. So now your modern day Satan seat is the seat of the beast, which is America. All right, let's go back to this. Because they're the ones that really call the shots, right? The Lord said in Daniel 7th chapter, they'll look what's more stout than their fellows, right? Let's get that in Daniel 7. Okay, Daniel 7 and 20. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and the one that came up was America, before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. So America, they're more stout. They're prouder, they're wealthier, they're fatter, they're stronger, military-wise, they have more influence socially, politically. Although we see that dwindling down now, and they are pretty much a shadow of their former self, nevertheless, they at one time and somewhat now are still more stout than England, more stout than France, more stout than Ireland, more stout than Germany. They're the seat of the beast. But the Most High said he's going to pour darkness upon this kingdom. Is that literal darkness? Right now, and guess what? There very well may be an EMP attack, and it could be actual darkness. Right? The Most High can shut the power grid down, yes. But that's not what this is talking about. This darkness is a spiritual darkness. The darkness in ancient Egypt was literal. This darkness is metaphoric, speaking about the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of America is going to be completely shut down. Right? That's what it's talking about. Let's prove that. Let's go to Micah, the 3rd chapter. That's one of the plagues coming to this place. All of their science, their engineers, physicists, people who are, you got people that preserve seeds, and they got this art where they want to preserve one seed of every plant in case the world is destroyed. You got nuclear bunkers, you got engineers that make bombs, and all of this is the wisdom of the world, right? Likened unto the sun and the moon. Micah 3 and 6. Therefore, night shall be unto you, that ye shall not have a vision, and it shall be dark unto you, that ye shall not divine. And the sun shall go down over the prophets, and the day shall be dark over them. Then shall the seers be ashamed, and the diviners confounded. Yea, they shall all cover their lips, but there is no answer of God. So the darkness is speaking about a lack of vision, a lack of wisdom, a lack of understanding from your engineers, scientists, wicked wizards, and priests and warlocks, right? That Esau deals with on the left-hand side. All of their understanding and counsel is going to be shut down. Let's go to the book of Isaiah, the 13th chapter, right? Let's prove that. Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 9. Behold, the day of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, cometh cruel, both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened and is going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. So the sun and the moon is speaking about the wisdom and the knowledge and understanding of all of these different nations. All of that is going to be dark. So there's not going to be an answer when all hell break loose. You think the so-called white man is going to have an answer against China? Do you think the seed of the beast is going to have an answer against Russia? Do you think the seed of the beast can stop the Israelites from waking up? His kingdom is going to be full of darkness, confusion, race wars, internal madness, a lack of stability, infrastructure falling apart. He's damn near in darkness now. And they gnawed their tongues for pain, right? That's a metaphor talking about that they're going to be grieved about the lack of understanding and wisdom in the society, man. And America's not going to be that booming kingdom anymore. They're kind of gnawing their tongues for pain now as they look at that debt ceiling hit 32 trillion soon. As they see everyone ditching the dollar, they're beginning to gnaw their tongues for pain somewhat right now. As the BRICS alliance becomes the #1 global influence monetarily on the earth, they are beginning to gnaw their tongues for pain. Right? That's the 4th plague. In ancient Egypt, it was the 9th plague. But now the darkness comes a lot sooner because these are 7 last plagues. Revelation chapter 16 and verse 11. And blasphemed the God of heaven because of their pains and sores, and they repented not of their deeds. Right? So these pains and sores are speaking about the affliction, like Lazarus. Remember Lazarus, he sat at the gate full of sores. Right? And that's all parabolic. It's all parabolic. Those sores and the gnawing the tongue for pain is all parabolic. Right? Revelation 16 is a deep chapter because it goes into these plagues, and if you didn't link the precepts up, you would think that these things were literal. You know? Let's go to Luke, the 16th chapter. Luke chapter 16 and verse 19. There was a certain rich man, which was clothed in purple and fine linen, and fared sumptuously every day. That's talking about the so-called white man who lives good every day. And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gate full of sores. The sores represent the affliction, the curses, the persecution that we deal with. Just like these other nations, they're going to be full of sores, economic collapses, natural disasters, financial debt, famines. These are the new pains and sores coming from the darkness, right? And ultimately the missiles, like we went into earlier. Verse 12. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great. Hold on, I want to touch on this part. It says, and repented not of their deeds. Just like in ancient Egypt, every plague that hit Pharaoh, the Lord hardens his heart. Just like every plague that's going to hit the world, the Most High still hardening their heart, man. They're not going to repent. That's what we read there. Is no new thing under the sun. After every plague, the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh. Now, let's read about the sixth plague. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. And you see the Euphrates River drying up now, right? Let's pull that up. Right, we pull it up all the time, but we'll pull it up again. Euphrates River. This is literally happening, right? This is literal. There's no spiritual river Euphrates. There's an actual river Euphrates, and it's literally drying up. Look at that. This is from 13 years ago. Iran suffers as the Euphrates River dwindles. And it's only been waxing worse. Look at this. See that? You think it looked like this during the time of Nebuchadnezzar, Cyrus, Alexander the Freak? The river Euphrates was the top river in the known world, along with the Nile and the Tigris. Now we know it's the Jordan River for us, but for these nations, it was the Euphrates. That was their top river. But now look at it. Drying up. All right? You got all of these rivers drying up. See that? Now, when you go back to this, why is it drying up? That the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. Who are the kings of the east? Well, let's pull up what's actually going on in the earth right now. I kind of spelled it wrong. Okay, hold on. So the BRICS alliance, right? You have, hold on, it's like he got me doing things I don't want to do. Okay, your kings of the east: Russia, India, China. You also have Iran, right? You have North Korea. All of these nations that are coming together are the kings of the east. Russia, China, Iran, Afghanistan, they are the kings of the east. If you pull up a map of Middle East, right, let's pull this up. Okay, you got Iraq, Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan, India. You got China up here. You got Russia. They are all the kings of the east. Now, they're all going to form an alliance, right? You have the CSTO, right? You have the Persian Gulf Force or the Peninsula Gulf Force. You have the Shanghai Cooperation Council and Alliance. You have all these political military alliances amongst the kings of the east, man. The RSII alliance, which is Russia, Syria, Iran, and Israel. And all of these alliances, they're going to link up, and they're going to come into this region of Israel, Lebanon, Jordan, and Syria. And they're going to cross this river Euphrates with their tanks. Their paratroopers are going to land here. Their war jeeps are going to go through here. Their Humvee vehicles, their soldiers, infantry, Air Force. And they're going to come into this region. And this where World War III, the final battle is going to take place in this region. The end of World War III will be in this region located by Israel, Lebanon, Syria, and Jordan. All right. So that's what this means in Revelation, the 16th chapter, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. So your BRICS alliance is defined in the Bible. Your RSII alliance, your Shanghai Corporation Council, those are your kings of the east. Now, verse 13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits, like frogs, come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. So now in ancient Egypt, you had the plague of the frogs. Now you have a modern day plague of the frogs. Now in ancient Egypt, the frogs came second, right? The frogs came in, Slacky. Right? The frogs came in Exodus, the 7th chapter and the 8th chapter, really. And they were everywhere, right? They were in kneading troughs. They were in the beds of the Egyptians. They were in all of their vessels. The frogs were everywhere, right? The frogs were literally everywhere. Now, the Lord is bringing those frogs back, but he's not bringing literal frogs. He's bringing these spiritual frogs. What are spiritual frogs? Well, let the Lord explain himself, man. Let's read this again, Revelation 16 and 13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits, like frogs, come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are the spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of the great day of God Almighty. So just like ancient Egypt, let's go to Exodus 8. Frogs were everywhere. You couldn't escape the frogs. All right, let's go to Exodus chapter 8. Exodus chapter 8 and verse 2. And if thou refuse to let them go, behold, I will smite all thy borders with frogs. So now the Lord is smiting the whole earth with spirits, right? There are spirits of war, spirits of uprising, military training, war drills, military alliances, it's like airspace being invaded, people linking up with other countries. That's all a direct result of the frogs that are everywhere, coming from the mouth of the dragon and the beast, because America and these other European nations, they are the catalyst of starting World War III, based off of what they propagate in the media, how their leaders move in relationship to the other leaders of the world, how the military moves in relationship to what's going on in the earth. They are the modern day dragon and beast. And the frogs proceed from them, because they're the ones that starting this whole thing up. Now the frogs are everywhere. Just like these spirits are everywhere. They're in the spirit of Vladimir Putin. And he says, now I must link up with the leader of China. Now the spiritual frog is in China's mind to say, okay, well, look, we're going to link with Iran. Then the leaders in Iran's leader mind to say, well, look, let's just make our own currency. Let's do military drills. So there are frogs all over the earth right now. Right? Let's read this again. And if thou refuse to let them go, behold, I will smite all thy borders with frogs. And the river, just like that we explained that the modern day river and sea are the nations. And the river shall bring forth frogs abundantly, which shall go up and come into thine house, and into thy bedchamber, and upon thy bed, and into the house of thy servants, and upon thy people, and into thine ovens, and into thy kneading troughs, and the frogs shall come up both on thee and upon thy people and upon all thy servants. See that? Ancient Egypt, there were frogs everywhere, right? Modern day Egypt and America, now these same frogs are the spirits of devils, because they leap and they're in everybody's mind. Like spirits are, they jump from one thing to another, man. A lust demon might hop on somebody, then it might hop on you. His brother said it all the time, and the spirit hopped on me. Like a frog hops. Now I got this damn demon that hopped on me, man. Then it hops on somebody else. Then it hops on somebody else. Then it hops on the next man. So it's hopping on all of these world leaders, influencing them to build up a military to fight in World War III. So we covered some of these plagues. Now you may say, well, hold on, we only covered, let's go back on the list. Right? Let's see where I'm at with time. Okay. All right. Let's go back to this. So we covered the water turned into blood, which are the nations being destroyed. We covered the frogs, which is what the spirits of devils stirring them up for World War III. We covered the similarity of the boils and the first of the seven plagues. We covered the fire. All right, let's talk about the hell, because you have hell and fire. Now you're going to have hell come back, and it will be mingled with fire. Right? Let's pull that up. Let's go to Revelation, the 8th chapter. Right, and it's really not literal hell, but we're going to show you what it's talking about. It's really talking about the missiles. All right, it's really talking about the missiles. Revelation 8 and 7. And the first angel sounded. Now these are the seven trumpets. And there followed hell and fire mingled with blood. And they were cast upon the earth. And the third part of trees was burnt up. And all green grass was burnt up. Right? Now, the hell and fire is a poetic way of speaking about the ICBM missiles. And the third part of trees is a third part of man. Man are likened unto trees, and man is likened unto grass in the Bible. Why trees? Because they bear fruit. They have branches, like a family tree. They're rooted. Why grass? Because grass it lives for a short period of time. It's here today and going tomorrow. Right? Let's prove that this hell is dealing with the missiles first. Right? I believe that's Job. I'm gonna just type this in for the sake of time. That's hell reserved. And I'll just type hell in. All right. In the book of Job, I believe that's the 38th chapter, if I'm not mistaken. 38 and 22. Job chapter 38 and 22. Hast thou entered into the treasures of the snow? Or hast thou seen the treasures of the hell, which I have reserved against the time of trouble? What's the time of trouble? World War III. All hell breaking loose. The Lord doesn't reserve just hell, because it hails all the time. We experienced hell out when we was in Detroit, man. So hell is not just or literal hell, should I say. It's not just for the time of trouble. This is really going into another kind of hell that's reserved. So you won't experience this hell until the time of trouble and against the day of battle and war. What wars and battles are going to be going on where the Lord brings out a new kind of hell, the treasures of hell, in a time of trouble and battle and war? Well, let's show you. Right? Let's go to Revelation chapter 16 and show you this hell that's reserved for battle and war. Revelation chapter 16 and verse 21. I'll start at 19. Revelation 16 and 19. And the great city was divided into three parts, and the cities of the nations fell. And great Babylon came in remembrance before the Most High, to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. So Babylon the Great and these other nations are going to be cast down. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. Now check this out. And there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven. That's that same hell reserved for the time of trouble and battle and war. It's not talking about little ice that comes down and, oh, wow, that's a big piece of ice. Ouch. Right? No, that's not what it's all parabolic. Just as much as the sun was not literal, the frogs were not literal, the darkness wasn't literal, the hell is not literal. Right? And speaking about the missiles. And there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent. And men blasphemed the Most High because of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceeding great. So the plague is coming back. The plague of hail and fire that's going to burn up the trees. Again, trees and grass are men. Let's prove that. Trees and grass are men. First, let's deal with grass. Isaiah chapter 40 and verse 6. The voice said, cry. And he said, what shall I cry? All flesh is grass. You see that? And all the goodliness thereof is as the flower of the field. The grass withereth, the flower fadeth, because the Spirit of the Lord bloweth upon it. Surely the people is grass. So that's plain. They're grass because grass is here today, burnt tomorrow. The Lord tell you that, man. Put in Matthew the 6th chapter. It's like in Matthew 6 and 30. Wherefore, if God so clothe the grass of the field, which today is, and tomorrow is cast into the oven, shall he not much more clothe you, O ye of little faith? So man is likened unto grass because of the brevity of their life on the earth. All right, let's get another one dealing with grass. Bear with me, I had another precept in my mind. Right? On Job. I believe on Job 14, or I can go to 1 Peter, the 1st chapter. I'll do 1 Peter 4. I mean 1. That's a good one too. You can also use Job 14. Right? 1 Peter chapter 1 and 24. For all flesh is as grass, and all the glory of man as the flower of grass. The grass withereth, and the flower thereof falleth away. So man is like unto the flower or grass, again, because you're here today and going tomorrow. That's why Revelation 8 says all green grass was burnt up. It's not talking about the grass in your backyard. Although, yeah, that's going to be burnt up, but that's not what this is talking about. And why a third part? Because the Lord isn't going to kill everybody. He's only going to kill a certain amount because everybody else has to be set up for slavery. All right, and set up to go in chains. You know, the Lord said that he beheld and saw the eagle body was given to the burning flame. It says, yet the other beasts had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. So the other nations are going to be reserved, be put in slavery. All right, and trees are men too. All right, that's Psalms 1, Psalms 92, Matthew 3, Matthew 7, right, or 3 and 11, 7 and 15 through 17, Mark 8, 22 through 24, Psalms 1 and 1 through 3, Psalms 92 and 12. So trees are men. So yes, you will have hell mingled with fire, but it's poetically speaking about the missiles. You will have the locusts. Now the locusts aren't literal. What are the modern day locusts that the Lord is going to bring on the earth? Let's go to Revelation, the 9th chapter. Right? Let's go to Revelation chapter 9. Now you're going to have a new locust. So these plagues are coming back. Again, we read in 2 Ezra 15 that I will smite Egypt with plagues as before. Hell mingled with fire. Locusts, we're about to read about. Fire, or the sun scorching men with fire. The boils, the waters being turned into blood. No new thing is under the sun. Now, let's go back to this. Let's read about the locust. Revelation chapter 9 and verse 1. And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and unto him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit. Now, the bottomless pit is Europe, right? So what this is going into when World War III escalates, the stars are likened unto missiles, and they're going to fall into different parts of the earth. They're going to fall into parts of Europe. They're going to fall into parts of France and Germany. They're going to fall in parts of the earth, man. And as these nations get dragged into World War III, they're going to have to act on behalf of it. And that's what this is going into. Europe or NATO is going to be involved in World War III, right? That's what it means he opened the bottomless pit. And there arose smoke out of the pit as the smoke of a great furnace. Like if you see a missile hit and cities on fire, or if you see buildings on fire, the effect of bombs dropping, that's the smoke of a great furnace. Like Abraham, he saw in Genesis 18, he saw the smoke of a great furnace as Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. Look at this Genesis, Genesis 19. Yep, Genesis 19, Slack 27. And Abraham got him up early in the morning to the place where he stood before the Lord. And he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah and all the land of the plain and beheld. And lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace. And that's the result of the fire. So that's that smoke of the furnace in Revelation chapter 9. The effect of these stars falling on the missiles. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth. And unto them was given power as the scorpions of the earth have power. So the scorpions have earth to kill flesh and blood. Locusts don't kill people, right? Or sting people, but scorpions do. So these locusts are a different kind of locust. Is it a literal locust? No. But what plague of locusts is this talking about? Well, let's read about it. Right? Let's actually read about what this plague of locusts is going into. Because the Lord has given it power as a scorpion of the earth has power, meaning to afflict it to harm flesh and blood. These locusts do not just eat, they don't eat grass and leaves off of trees and flowers in your backyard. These are a different kind of locusts, not literal locusts. And it was commanded that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. So these locusts don't deal with physical grass and physical trees, right? It deals with man. So what Revelation 9 and 4 is saying, that these locusts cannot kill any man except the men that don't have the seal of God in their foreheads. Remember, we covered what the grass is talking about and the green things in the trees. It's speaking about man. Because actual locusts, they eat actual grass. These locusts, they're not going to harm anybody except the people who have not the seal of God in their foreheads, which are the elect. Like in Ezekiel 9, it says, slay utterly old and young. Let's get that real quick. Let's draw the parallel to help brothers understand. All right, Ezekiel chapter 9 and verse 4. And the Lord said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. And to the others, so the others are the green trees, the green things, right? Anybody without the seal of God. And to the others he said, go ye after him through the city and smite. Let not your eyes spare, neither have ye pity. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children, and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. Then they began at the ancient men which were before the house. So the same way these death angels had charge to kill everybody except the men that had the seal, it's the exact same way in Revelation 9, how these modern day locusts are going to kill everybody or kill the people except those who have the seal of God in their foreheads. All right, and we covered what the grass is talking about. We went to 1 Peter 1 and 24, Isaiah 40 and 6. You can go to Job 14 and 1, Matthew 6 and 30, that shows that men are likened unto grass. We put the precept for the trees and the green things of man. Right? Let's read on. And we're going to, the Lord is going to explain what these locusts are about. And to them it was given. Slakia. Let's see where we at. All right. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh the man. Now, when it says 5 months, 5 months isn't literal, right? I have to keep saying things aren't literal. Numbers in the Bible have meanings. 7 has a meaning. It means perfection or completion. 10 has a meaning. It means wholesome or completion. 9 has a meaning. It means incompletion. 6 has a meaning. It means imperfection. 3 has a meaning. It means emphasis, right? 4 has a meaning. It means completion as well. So there are numbers in the Bible. That 8 has a meaning. It means infinity. And there are precepts that back all that up, right? You can go to, for the number 10, Ecclesiastes chapter 25, right? 7 on down. That also ties in with the number 9. For the number 8, you can go to Ecclesiastes. And I'm paraphrasing a lot just for sake of time. I'm pressed for time. Ecclesiastes chapter 11 and 1 on down, right? For dealing with the number 8. The number 7, you can go to Psalms 12 and 6, Leviticus, the 4th chapter. Joshua chapter 6, 3 on down, dealing with the number 7, right? The number 6, you can go to Proverbs chapter 6 and 16. These 6 things that the Lord hate. The number 4, you can go to Proverbs the 30th chapter and Amos the 4th chapter. For 3 transgressions of Edom and for 4. For 3 transgressions for Tyrus and for 4. There be 3 things that are coming and are going, yea, 4 in the book of Proverbs. So all these numbers, you can prove it in the Bible. Same thing with the number 5. What does the number 5 mean, right? Let's go to it. Because you may say, well, that's literal 5 months. January, February, March, April, May. No, right? It's not talking about that. Let's deal with the number 5. Right? This is Matthew chapter 25 and verse 1. Then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. So 10 meaning completion. Now we got to put on our spiritual mind. If 10 is completion, what does 5 mean? Right? And 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish. So if 10 is completion, because it's not literal 10 virgins, right? That's speaking about the men of the Lord who go out, have been called to do the work, right? 5 meaning a certain portion, right? An indefinite number. That's what 5 means, a certain portion. There's no exact number on 5, just like there's no exact number on 10. 10 is just completion. So 5 is just a portion of that. So some were wise, some were foolish. That's what 5 means. Some or a portion or an indefinite amount. All right. That's what the number 5 means. Let's prove that again. Let's go to the Isaiah 19. All right. Let's prove that. Right. That's what the precepts are going to speak expressly. Okay, Isaiah. Right? I could have brought that one out early. Okay, but this Isaiah chapter 19. Let's see where I want to start. Okay, Isaiah chapter 19 and 17. And the land of Judah shall be a terror unto Egypt. Everyone that maketh mention thereof shall be afraid in himself, because of the counsel of the Lord of hosts, which he hath determined against it. Which means that the so-called black man in America is going to be a threat to these nations and to Babylon the Great or America, right? And that day shall 5 cities and the land of Egypt speak the language of Canaan, and swear to Yahweh of hosts, one shall be called the city of destruction. So what does this mean? 5 cities. That's a number 5 again. And the land of Egypt shall speak the language of Canaan. Does that mean, okay, I went to Philly, I went to Phoenix, I went to LA, I went to Denver, and my 5th city, Miami. All of those cities, now they speak the Hebrew. They shifted from the English and the Spanish, now they speak the Hebrew. 5 cities in America. Or maybe it's New York, maybe it's Vegas, maybe it's Chicago, maybe Detroit, and maybe Kansas City, right? All of those cities speak. No, that's not what it's talking about. 5. So guess what? There are 10 cities in the land of Egypt. 5 of them are going to come back to the Lord. The other 5 are not going to come back to the Lord. 5 cities speaking the language of Canaan, speaking about a portion of Israelites coming back to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, coming back to their heritage, coming back to the laws, coming back to the commandments, coming back to the Most High. The other 5 cities are like the 2/3, which will not speak the language of Canaan. They will speak the language of the beast. They will speak the language of Esau. They will speak the language of America. They will speak the talk of this society and speak the language of the world. Like the Lord said, they speak of the world, therefore the world heareth them. Let me get that real quick in 1 John. Right? Let's get that. Let's go to 1 John real quick. Get a quick precept about speaking the language of Canaan. Okay, 1 John chapter 4 and 5. They are of the world, therefore speak they of the world, and the world heareth them. We don't speak that language. We don't speak folly and vanity and politics and religion. We speak the language of Canaan. We speak repentance, right? We speak prayer. We speak feast days. We speak fasting, unity. We speak Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. So 5 cities are going to come back to the Lord. The other 5 won't. 5 virgins were wise. 5 were foolish. In Revelation 9, when it says 5 months, it just means for a certain period of time, these locusts are going to be causing hell on the earth, man. Let's read that again. Revelation 9 and 5. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. Not literal. Don't count down. All right, don't do August, September, October, November, December. You got people saying, okay, that's 19, 20, 1921. It's not talking about that, man. There's no scriptures on that. Right? You have to go let the Most High be true and every man a lie. You got to break it down with the precepts. Right? Reading on. That they should be tormented 5 months, and their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh the man. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them, because there'll be so much hell and destruction on the earth. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, meaning they move in military fashion. And on their heads were as it were crowns of gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. So what John the Revelator saw, John saw these locusts, but they're not actual locusts. They're actually war type vehicles, helicopters, if you can understand. Right? This is an aerial vehicle. And it's prepared like horses in battle because they move in military fashion. On their heads were crowns of gold. That's the helmet that the pilots wear. And the faces were as the face of men, meaning John saw them through that windshield, for lack of better terms. And we're going to show you the imagery. And they had hair as the hair of a woman. That's that, when John saw it, that's that propeller, that black propeller, like the black hair of a woman or Eve. And their teeth were as the teeth of lions. That's the military might, right? That's the roar of the propelling missiles that shoot out from that helicopter. And they had breastplates as it were breastplates of iron. That's the alloys and the metals that's on that used to make that vehicle. And the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. So he heard that propeller, huh? Right? So remember, John, he's doing his best to describe modern day technology with ancient words. John never saw a war helicopter shooting out missiles. He never saw this in his life. So how can he describe it with words that we're familiar with? He can't. He has to be in a spirit to describe it the best way he can based off of what is in his environment and what he's familiar with. Like if you give a caveman an iPhone and tell him to describe it, he's not going to say that's an LED screen and that's a screen protector and that's your battery, that's your charger port, that's your no. He might say it was a black rock with light. It was a small black rock, because you don't know what the word phone means. So he's going to describe it with caveman words. I saw this black phone, or it's like this black rock, shiny rock, and it had light coming from the top of it. Now you get that message in 2023, like, well, what the hell is he talking about? A black rock with light coming from the top of it. So you have to sit there. Okay, well, okay, what did he see? It's not talking about that. He didn't. Oh, a phone, right? The light from the phone. Okay, the screen and I get it. I understand. So that's the spirit of Yahweh Shai as we describe what these things are. Okay. Now, when you look up, let's see. I'm pressed for time, so Salakia, right? What's up? John saw this and described it as a locust, right? He saw the face of a man. Where you shoot the bullets from and the missiles from are the teeth of a lion. That's the hair of the woman as it spins up top. And it has the breastplates, that's the armor on it. Now, from a distance, if you didn't know any better, you would have thought this was from 2,000 years ago. You would have thought that this was an insect flying in the air. Think about being on the ground and looking up and you see these things. You would have thought that that was a locust. I want to see if I can get a better, let's see, a better image or a better, let's see if I can, if I, from a distance. So John didn't know what this was. Man, imagine seeing these far away in the sky. You have no idea that they're war helicopters, but you hear them. You say it sounds like many horses running to battle. What vehicle in World War III sounds like chariot wings and sounds like the wings of people, of animals moving, man? Yeah, and they fly in the sky. See that? And they also got that teeth right there where they shoot out those missiles from. That teeth of a lion. You got to kind of, and I wanted to get a better imagery, right? But if you look up, let me type in. All right. See that? So this is what John saw. John didn't know what this was, man. How would he know that these are war helicopters? He just described it as locusts, man. It looks like a flying insect. It literally looks like a flying insect. But guess what? He described it and he broke it down. And now we understand what John saw. He thought these were flying insects. And they were causing damage. Right? That's why if you look up an actual locust, it resembles that. Right? And locusts all move in bands. See that? So he didn't know what was going on. He saw it like the propeller wings, like those wings of a locust, right? So he did his best to describe it. And they're going to cause damage on flesh and blood. All right? So that's what their job is. Now, when you go back to these 10 plagues, we discussed the plagues of the locusts. We discovered darkness. We went into the hell mingled with fire. We dealt with the modern day boils. We dealt with the water and the blood. We dealt with the frogs. Now, you don't have too much of a comparison in Revelation of flies and gnats and livestock, but you do have the death of the firstborn, because everybody in America is going to die, right? Everybody in this place is going to die. Every firstborn of the so-called white men in America are going to die. These are the plagues of modern day Egypt, right? Let's wind down. Let's go to the book of Isaiah, 27th chapter. This is Isaiah chapter 27 and verse 12. And this shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall beat off from the channel of the river unto the stream of Egypt, and ye shall be gathered one by one, O ye children of Israel. So the same way we left ancient Egypt, now the chariots are going to come and gather us one by one, right? One by one. And then the plagues are going to befall this land in totality. So this is the exact same deliverance, man. It's going to cut off Egypt and gather us one by one. So with that, I'm going to close up, giving, of course, our honor and our glory to Yahweh. Most High willing you were edified. Tune in to the Sabbath service on the main channel, Watching for Israel, in about an hour or so. Lord willing, you were edified. Kwam Yashala. Happy Feast of Unleavened Bread. Shalom.